That's so sweet. Yay, you love mommy? You love your mommy? Yep, we all love and miss okay. Go ahead, pop pop.
There are some stories that don't just make the news. They make you stop, breathe, and whisper to yourself. How did things go so wrong so fast? And this is one of those stories. Because tonight, we're stepping into the world of a young woman named Ahmari Capleton, a girl who had barely stepped into adulthood, a young mother who carried the glow of possibility in her eyes, and someone whose life felt like it was just beginning. Ahmari wasn't famous. She wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't someone the world expected to hear about. She was simply a young woman trying to navigate life, love, and responsibility, just like so many others her age. Fresh out of high school, surrounded by dreams that stretched far beyond her city limits, Ahmari had plans. Real plans. Plans she talked about with friends, with family, and maybe even whispered to herself in quiet moments when hope felt brighter than fear. But on one ordinary night, a night that should have ended with rest, laughter, or simple peace, everything changed. It didn't happen in some far-off place or some dangerous corner of the world. It happened in the middle of everyday life, where conversations happen, where misunderstandings happen, where emotions rise and fall like a heartbeat. And in that fragile space between calm and conflict, a moment unfolded that would take Ahmari away forever. No dramatic buildup, no warning, just a sudden shift, a disagreement, an argument, a spark that shouldn't have mattered, but somehow grew into something no one could take back. When the sun rose the next morning, the world looked the same, but for the people who loved Ahmari, nothing was ever the same again. This is not just a story about loss. It's a story about the fragility of life, the weight of emotions left unchecked, and the heartbreaking truth that even the smallest conflicts can have the biggest consequences. Tonight, we honor a young mother, a daughter, a friend, someone whose name deserves to be spoken with care, Ahmari Capleton. Stay with me, because understanding how this happened isn't just about knowing the facts. It's about understanding how quickly a moment can turn into a tragedy, and why her story must never be forgotten. Welcome to Lat True Crime Stories. I am your host. Today we are breaking down one of the most twisted cases you've ever seen. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and leave your comment to tell us where you're watching from. Let's build this community together. Now let's get into it. Before the events of that night, before the sirens and the heartbreak and the headlines, there was simply Ahmari, a young woman whose life still felt like wet paint, not yet dry, not yet defined, still being shaped by every choice she made. To understand what happened to her, we first have to understand who she was. Ahmari Capleton grew up surrounded by people who adored her. Friends describe her as a light, gentle, warm, and never too busy to listen. Family members say she had the kind of smile that made you forget whatever was wrong with your day. She wasn't perfect, no one is, but she was present. She cared. She loved deeply. And she loved especially hard when it came to her child. Becoming a young mother didn't dim her dreams. It only made them bigger. She talked about wanting stability, wanting to build a future not just for herself, but for the little life depending on her. She carried that responsibility like a badge of honor. But with dreams come challenges. And with young adulthood comes the complicated world of relationships. Relationships that can start sweet, then shift slowly, quietly, in ways people outside the walls of a home never see. Those close to Ahmari say she was trying to balance motherhood, her personal life, and the uncertainties that came with both, trying to figure out her path, trying to understand the people around her, even when misunderstandings happened, even when emotions ran higher than they should. On the evening before the tragedy, life in her world looked ordinary, nothing out of place. Nothing signaling how drastically everything would change. There were conversations, some calm, some tense. Interactions that might have seemed small on the surface, but carried weight beneath them. The kind of everyday disagreements young couples sometimes face. Moments where two people can stand feet apart, yet feel miles away. Moments where communication breaks down and emotions start making decisions that logic should have made instead. In the hours leading up to the incident, Ahmari was simply living, navigating the ebb and flow of a relationship that wasn't always easy. Whether it was stress, misunderstandings, or the pressure of life stacking up, there was a tension building quietly in the background, one she didn't expect would grow into something dangerous. As the night settled in, the world around her slowed down. Neighborhood lights dimmed. People retreated into their homes. And inside that stillness, two young people found themselves in a disagreement that spiraled quicker than either of them anticipated. No one around them, no neighbors, no friends, thought that anything catastrophic was unfolding inside those walls. It was just another night, another conversation, another emotional moment between two people trying to make sense of their lives. But sometimes it only takes one moment, one surge of emotion, one split second where intention loses the battle to impulse. And that moment would change everything. As investigators stepped onto the scene that night, nothing immediately revealed the full weight of what had happened. The house was still, the air heavy with a silence that didn't match what had unfolded only moments before. But inside that silence, the truth began to piece itself together, slowly, painfully, unmistakably. The first revelation wasn't a dramatic discovery. It was a timeline built from phone calls, witness accounts, and the voices of those who knew Ahmari and the person she had been with that night. Friends replayed their last conversations with her. Family members recounted the subtle shifts they had noticed, and neighbors remembered hearing raised voices earlier. Nothing alarming, just the kind of tension that can rise between two people who care but don't always communicate well. Investigators came to understand that the disagreement between Ahmari and her boyfriend wasn't random. It wasn't sudden. It came from a buildup, small misunderstandings, moments of frustration, and emotional pressure that had been quietly accumulating. They were young, both still learning how to deal with stress, how to navigate disagreements, how to manage their rising emotions. But the turning point, the moment where everything shifted, came when that disagreement intensified. Words were exchanged, tempers flared, and instead of cooling down, the situation escalated. What investigators found most heartbreaking was this. No one involved intended for things to end the way they did. There was no long-term plan, no hidden agenda, just a moment where tension overpowered judgment. As interviews continued, a clearer picture formed. Ahmari had hopes for the relationship, but she also had worries she had shared with a few close friends. She wanted peace, stability, and a healthy environment for her child.
Arrest has been made in connection with the deadly stabbing that happened over the weekend. Derek Anna Dunklin is accused of stabbing Ahmari Capleton to death. The incident happened Sunday. According to court filings, Dunklin went to Capleton's home and stabbed her multiple times. Multiple witnesses say it started over an argument. Another woman was also stabbed, but her injuries are not serious. Capleton's death is one of 5 under investigation that happened over the weekend in Montgomery.